Right, when I look at a guy like Steph Curry making the All-Star game this season, and I look at a lot of guys like Kyrie Irving, Devin Booker, De'Aaron Fox, just in this conference who had better seasons than, or playing better than him. Look, I'm gonna say the quiet thing out loud. Steph Curry should not be an All-Star.
And you should be forced to get on national TV and apologize to Steph Curry once again. Because once again, Kendrick Perkins has said something idiotic about Steph Curry, and once again, he looks like an idiot. And the thing is, this was not considered a crazy take at the time. There are a lot of people who genuinely believed that Steph Curry did not deserve to be an All-Star, and he might not make another All-Star game again. Well, 3 weeks later, he was the All-Star game MVP. The Warriors are 7-1 since the Jimmy Butler trade, and well, Steph just dropped 56 points in a win against the Magic, which included shots like this.
Steph from three-quarter court! Curry hits a three!
Yeah, you heard me, Steph Curry just had a Steph Curry performance for the ages, going off for 56 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists on 25 shots. It took him 25 shots to score 56 points for a true shooting percentage of 92.5. And this was not a blowout performance against a terrible team like the Washington Wizards. This was against a playoff level team in Orlando, in which the Warriors needed every single one of Steph's buckets to help them win. Every single one of them. Because with 4 minutes remaining and the Dubs up by 6 points, Steph was sitting on 43 points following an explosion in the third quarter. But after sitting on the bench for a while, the Magic had started to eat into the lead, and Steph was still finding his footing in the fourth quarter. That's when he decided to take over for the third time in the game. Watch him here where he gets the screen from post, draws both defenders, finds post before then relocating to the wing and knocking down the three. 90 seconds later, with the game only separated by 4 points, Steph is being hounded by KCP. Jimmy comes to set the screen, Steph gives it up, gets it back, and in one motion with the 6'10 Franz Wagner in his face, he somehow knocks down the three. Those are the kind of shots that are easy to take for granted with Steph Curry. We see the crossovers and behind the back dribbles or the 35-foot bombs, but the quickness to readjust and the ability to shoot unfazed with someone of that size in his face, that is unfathomable. And just because he's Steph Curry, he wasn't done there, because the Magic kept fighting, and with 2 points separating the teams and 90 seconds remaining, well, I'll let you hear the rest.
The handle, Curry to beat the buzzer for three. Good!
How many times do people have to learn that Steph Curry is not someone you doubt? He is not someone you write off. Until he tells the entire world that he is retiring, I am not going to count out the greatest shooter, the greatest point guard, and one of the greatest players ever. Because Father Time might be real, but Steph Curry's shooting ability is not. And we saw that on full display in this game against Orlando, because I showed you the last few minutes of the game, but that was nothing in comparison to the first 3 quarters, and in particular the third quarter, in which Steph put on an all-time performance, going off for 22 points on just 8 shot attempts, and some of the shots he was making, I mean, how about here, bringing the ball up the floor against KCP, the crossover step-back 3 from about 28 feet, and it's cash. And it got to a point where the Magic were pressing Steph so high up the floor that he reminded them, I'm not just the greatest 3-point shooter, but I can shoot from everywhere on the floor, which includes hitting mid-range jumpers like here against Anthony Black, and then this time against Franz Wagner with the step back going right. It's also amazing what can happen when Steph gets a decent whistle, getting to the free throw line 12 times in the game against Orlando and making all 12 of those free throws, to the point where Jamal Mosley even had to complain after the game about the Warriors whistle. And for anyone who has followed the Warriors over the years, this is hilarious because they have never been a team to win the free throw battle, but with the addition of Jimmy Butler, there is just a complete completely different pressure on the defense around the rim. And just speaking to the Jimmy Butler addition, not only has this changed the team from a skill set and structural perspective, but a change that's been just as big has been the mental side. There's a sense of urgency just because you're not going to be able to do this at this level forever. We talked about that pre-trade, which is why Jimmy is here, and we all love the expectations. We love playing for something meaningful, and the only energy you're putting out there is to try and get it done. And that's what I love about these last 20 games of the season for this Warriors team. It feels like every game is a playoff game, and they're treating it like that. And who would you rather have than Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green for an extended stretch of playoff games? Even what Jimmy said after the game about the urgency to defend so that Steph can continue to work his magic on offense speaks to his winning mentality and maturity. And the reason it's hard for Steph to have these games on a consistent basis is because, well, hitting 10 threes a game is pretty difficult, but it's even more difficult with the defensive attention he gets. And it's why the box score numbers will never do his full impact justice. Just watch him here, getting the screen from Draymond to get the ball from Jimmy. Both Hornets defenders go to Steph, leaving Dre wide open, so Steph finds him for the 20-foot jumper. But that's more of a textbook point guard dime, where both defenders go to you and you make the pass. The plays that go beyond the box score are the plays where he draws two defenders, which allows the likes of Jimmy Butler, the likes of Draymond Green, to then utilize that gravity to create offense for someone else. And it's not just plays like that in 4-on-3 situations. Steph Curry can also do what no one else in NBA history has done at his level, which is create wide open looks without touching the ball. And I think one thing with Steph and these performances that has been noticeable so far since the addition of Jimmy is he's not going to average 30 a game like he did in his prime. Well, he might, but I don't think he will. But over the last couple of seasons, we have seen some uncharacteristically bad performances from Steph, single-digit performances, scoreless second halves, and people pointed at his age as the reason for this. That is partially true, but the defensive attention this man was facing at his age with very little help to take the pressure off him, there's very few people in NBA history, let alone at 36, that wouldn't have struggled. And I think with Jimmy Butler, with the improvements Brandon Bajemski, Moses Moody, and hopefully Jonathan Kuminga will continue to make, it's not about Steph Curry averaging 35 a game, but it's about Steph Curry being at his consistent best, which we have been so used to for so long. And I know he just had a 56-point game, which shows he can still have insane performances, but I'd expect to see more and more consistent greatness from Steph now that some of the weight has been lifted off his shoulders. Anyways, if you did make it all the way to the end of the video, consider subscribing to the channel. Dropping a like on the video would be cool. I've been sick for the last few days, so apologies on the lack of energy, but anyways, have a good day. Bye.